Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very, very special edition of 62 Who Knew. We really think you're going to enjoy this one. First, as always, let me thank last week's guest, Mr. Stephen Sless, one of the national reverse mortgage experts in this country. We really covered a lot of ground with him, separated the fact from the fiction, the myth from the reality, the you-know-what from the shinola, and it was a great show. We had a little over 75,000 viewers, so thank you so much, Stephen. Every time you come on, it's always a pleasure. Tonight's show is going to be incredible, and it's a little different. It's not quite what we normally do, but I think we're going to do more shows like this, and I think our audience is going to enjoy it. But before I introduce our guests, every week we have new viewers. That's why our viewership is going up so much. And I want to give a little synopsis of what 62 Who Knew is. So, 62 Who Knew is about the double-edged sword, okay, or the silver lining behind the cloud of longer lifespans. I turned 62 approximately 6 months ago, and when I turned 62, actually it's closer to 9 months now, I had many thoughts, like many 62-year-olds do. Do I take my Social Security, or do I defer it for another point in time? Do I need to keep working? Should my house be paid off? Do I need long-term care insurance? And if so, is it too late at my age to get it? Should I have saved more money? Should I have paid off other bills? Is this a time for annuities or bonds? Or should I be investing in a very volatile stock market? Point of the matter is, all the questions I asked myself, all my friends asked themselves at this age, so did their fathers, and so did their fathers before them. But my generation, this generation, has one different obstacle than any other generation before it. And what is that obstacle? Longer lifespans. Because in the last several decades, modern technology, scientific breakthroughs have been so extreme to such an extent that according to the AMA, if you live to be 65 in this country, just live to it. Notice I didn't say in great shape. Just live to be 65 in this country. You have a 50-50 chance of making it to 90. And with new breakthroughs coming through, that could easily, in the next decade, mean we're living to 100. But let's stick to 90 for a second. Who knew at 62 you had another 30 years to go? Our fathers didn't. Their fathers didn't. Their fathers certainly didn't. Who knew at 62 that half the time you've been here, you still have in front of you? So that's what our show is about. And every week we endeavor to bring on long-term care insurance experts, life insurance experts, reverse mortgage experts, national real estate experts, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. The list goes on to help everyone get through those years from 62 to 92 with the highest quality of life. Show has been a success. We want to thank you, the audience. This is, I think, our 96th or 97th show. Obviously, we started with 0, and we're now averaging between 75 and 80,000 viewers per week. So I want to thank everybody. That's the premise of the show. And now, without further ado, I'd like to bring on my 3 guests, if we can get them up on the screen, and there they are. First, we're going to go to the bottom of the screen, somebody you recognize as a 62 Who Knew regular and one of our favorite people, Mr. Peter Geldwax. But Peter is not here today as a national long-term care expert or long-term care guru of the nation, of which he is. Not here today is that. Today he's here as grandpa. We're not going to talk about long-term care insurance. And the 2 beautiful women to my right, or possibly to your left, depending on how you're watching this, is Miss Marjorie, and her daughter, Miss Catherine Schaefer. And thank you for being here. So let's tell everybody what this show is about. The first half of this show is going to be dedicated to Miss Catherine Schaefer, who has been pretty much a worldwide and national phenomenon for several years in the women's golf world. As a freshman in 8th grade, has already won 3 state champions in Florida, state championships. But how long ago was it, Marjorie? Was it a month, or how long ago was it that we were in Orlando?
2 months, 2 months now.
I can't believe it's been that long. But 2 months ago, she won the, I want to say it right, Catherine. She won the Pro-Am tournament in Orlando as an amateur, which allowed her to play that weekend in the Celebrity Golf Tournament of Champions with the absolute best women golfers in the country, or if not the world. And she came in second in that tournament, but we all know she should have came in first, because the guy that came in first should have been disqualified. But that's also another show. Cheater. Okay, I didn't mean that. Actually, I did mean that. She should have come in. Peter, am I right? Should she come in first?
It's true.
Yeah,
you're right. That's not Grandpa talking.
Let's get that guy in the show now. Somebody in the back, get him up here. We'll rip him apart.
Get out of the glare here.
You know, I have never seen. I'm not a golfer, so I'm the only one on screen that's not a golfer. Watching you play was just incredible. It was awe-inspiring. I mean, I've watched golf. Of course, I watched Tiger Woods like every non-golfer. That's who, it's like if you don't like basketball, you still loved watching Michael Jordan. Even though I'm not a golfer, I took almost every opportunity to watch Tiger Woods, and to watch you on those 18 holes in your Tiger Woods colors, black pants and red shirt, do what you did was just so inspiring that it was incredible. And then to watch all those incredible world-class golfers come up to you afterwards and hug you and shake your hand and tell you what a future you have is just incredible. So what I'd like to do right now, before I start asking you questions, Rob or John, can we roll the interview that the Golf Channel did?
With Will Manso.
Many young golfers dream of one day playing with the pros, but as our own Clay Ferraro shows us, one local golfer has already accomplished that dream a lot earlier than most.
This is where Catherine Schaefer grew up, right here on the golf course. In fact, just check the family photo album. Here she is at 7 months old holding a golf club. Then here she is swinging a club at 3 years old, winning tournaments at the age of 7, and then playing in the state tournament as a high school freshman.
I'm a very competitive person. I like being, I don't know, but I like winning.
Watching her at a young age and what she would do, and her asking to go to the range, asking to practice, on rainy days, banking off furniture and creating her own path.
But now, as a 14-year-old, she's playing with the pros. Catherine qualified to play in the LPGA Tournament of Champions Pro-Am in Orlando, and she shined. Rolling in a birdie while playing with Tour Pro Georgia Hall and Baseball Hall of Famer Greg Maddux. And then, how about this? Knocking down an eagle putt alongside LPGA Pro Celine Boutier.
I love everything about it. I love the honesty that it teaches you, and I love how it teaches you to be an independent person, how to fight on your own.
Getting that taste of life as a pro only makes Catherine thirsty for more.
It boosted my confidence a lot, and it was just, the experience was amazing, and I just made me want to be on that stage even more.
At Lago Mar in Plantation, Clay Ferraro, local.
All righty. Well, I was assured the audience heard everything. It was just incredible to watch you play. So how has it affected life? I mean, I think, Peter, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. And I think there's a word that my mother and my grandmother used to use, and I might not say it correctly. It's kvelling. It's a Yiddish word.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. There's no doubt both Catherine and Mark.
That's me. That's not her.
Yeah, I know. Well, they were quelling when people were coming up to you and congratulating you. How did you feel that day?
I mean, it was something that has changed me forever.
And it just opened so many doors for me, and I'm so thankful for all the opportunities that I have. It was an amazing experience. I'm just so grateful to have been there and to have played and to meet everyone. It was just an amazing experience, and I can't wait
for the future.
For the future.
And now, how did it affect, before we get to Peter, because if Peter starts to cry, then I'm going to start to cry, and it's a live show, and it won't be cool.
Right.
So before we get to...
I've got sunglasses.
Yeah, okay, I don't. So before we get to Peter, how has this affected life beyond happiness? How do your sisters feel about this? I mean, your sisters, there has to be, a little jealousy. Do you make them clean their room? Do they have to carry you to dinner? What changes in the house have happened since this?
Oh my gosh, no jealousy whatsoever. The second I walked back in the door from the tournament, they all came running into my arms and giving me a hug. And my sisters wrote me cards congratulating me. And they went to a store with my nanny and they got me gifts. It was so sweet. I felt it was just so warming to me.
Oh, that's incredible. And how about at school? Friends, people on the golf team, and they had to be watching.
Yes, actually my teachers too. It was really cool. I kept getting text messages from all my friends. Every time I was in class, my teachers were like, oh, I saw your interview. I saw your leaderboard, whatever. And I'm just like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And it's awesome. It's
So
awesome.
who have you been contacted by? I mean, major possible sponsors for the future? Because obviously you don't want to go pro till you're 18. And, so what type of people are contacting you?
There are some shoe companies and some newspapers and,
Apparel.
Yes. And some news broadcasters.
Mm-hmm.
Some colleges that started following her. So yeah.
That's going to be incredible. All right, Mom, now it's your turn. Yes, that is her mother, not her sister. Mom, how can you explain the pride you have in this young lady?
It's hard to explain how much pride you have. It's just when you're a parent and you're watching your child do what they love to do. And she's always been so passionate about the sport, and she loves doing this. And I absolutely love watching her play. It's just, it makes you just really warm feeling, because you know that your daughter, your child is doing something that is their passion, they love to do, and she works so hard. Incredible amount of discipline and incredible amount of drive and passion and grit, and yet an incredible amount of humility at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's just it takes a team, it takes a village, and she has so many people that really support her and encourage her and just are really thrilled for her. And that's just a really nice feeling to have and to see.
Yeah, and you really did hit it on the head. The poise in your interviews, the politeness, the respect was just so beyond your years, Catherine, that it was incredible. Okay, Grandpa, keep it together. So
Okay.
you were
So far,
watching.
okay.
Okay, you were watching on Facebook Live. You had Marjorie on the phone 90% of the time. You were watching on TV. You were texting me as we walked around. Tell me your feelings. As you already knew she was a legend in your heart as the world discovered Catherine.
So let's go back to basics. The basics are when Catherine, and I may be a little bit off, they can correct me, but somewhere around 3 years of age, watching golf on the TV, as I used to with Marjorie, 30 years prior, watch boxing. Even though neither one of us was into boxing, it's, we just love watching the amateur boxing back in the day when Tyson was just coming on the scene. Catherine just one day made a decision that she wanted to be a golfer and that she wanted to try that sport and get out there and start playing. And she did. And this was at a very young age. And what I'm most excited about right now, I'm not going to use the word proud so as much, but I'm most excited about and thrilled about was her self-drive, her determination, her willingness to try something that her mother never even had touched, that her grandfather really wasn't playing much at all, that her father was a casual golfer, so it wasn't like she was being influenced at all, nor was she being influenced to go forward with this beyond the experiment of trying to hit the ball. It was just a natural thing that came about and that she continued. And as soon as she began playing, she realized she had a special talent. So now to listen to the two of them first talk about the words out of her mouth about how grateful she is, and the words out of Marjorie's talking about the words drive and passion and humility and support. All of those things are very, very critically important to make it work, to put together the opportunity for success, the chance to grow and go beyond what you may have even dreamed about. And she's at that very early stage of that, and that's where my pride comes in of watching this happen and occur. Now, as far as the emotion connected to COVID and the fact that I was at home and not there, that's a completely different part to this, which was really a very mixed up feeling for me. On the one hand, of sadness, and on the other hand, of it wasn't about me, and it still isn't about me. So I recognize that I just wanted to be a little closer, like you were, physically, but at the same time, every time and as you know well how analytical I am, every time I sat down with Sharon and talked about this all week long, right up to the morning of, when I was thinking about getting in the car at 5 o'clock in the morning and driving up there, I came to the conclusion that it wasn't to our best interest, it wasn't to her best interest or mine, or Sharon's for that matter, for me to be in attendance. And so, there was a roller coaster ride through those hours, but certainly one of great joy. And I'm sure that we will have many days going forward of that level, if not greater, to share.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're sitting in the living room or wherever you were watching on Sunday the professional women, the real National Ladies Championship, and the announcer, who I don't think anybody expected, because I had friends text me. I had told everybody I was going. This was my first golf tournament. So I told everybody I was going, and I just mentioned to Marjorie the night before, I wish I could come, but I called and they said I couldn't because of COVID-19. And then about an hour later, I get a text with a picture of a VIP pass. They go, yes, you can come. So you're watching the national championships, professional women, and suddenly the announcer says, and now back to hole 8 to young phenom Catherine Schaefer on Sunday when they're supposed to be just showing the professionals. That had to make your heart just swell with pride. Both of you. I'm talking to you, Peter, on this one.
Okay. So without getting too emotional, that was my pass.
That was your pass?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
Marjorie made a point to make sure that if we felt comfortable, that Sharon and I would be able to join them. Mm-hmm. The issue there, as you know, because I don't want to be sarcastic about it, but you mentioned in the promo, it wasn't exactly the easiest thing for you to just walk around that course. And there weren't any golf carts allowed, nor, they had limited passes. And for those people that were able to attend, they were walking that course. So that was another thing. I wasn't going to leave Sharon sitting in the car for 4 hours or 5 hours while we walked around. So, but as far as the sensations, Mike, it's hard. It's really hard to grab words, and be able to share those words with your audience, or even to sense them myself as far as what they meant. certainly I didn't expect the level of emotion that I was going through prior to, during, and immediately after, other than the fact that it was so satisfying to be able to watch and to hear and to see the results. And I know you were telling somewhat truthful and somewhat in jest about the number one player and happened to be whether or not that person actually belonged even playing and that whole issue. But yeah, okay, I get it. But the fact that she could have achieved what she accomplished, I think for Catherine herself was a level of surprise. And so how do you measure that in terms of happiness or joy or sensations that you feel, the level of excitement and what that motivation does for you? What, succeeding in that one, as you know, I come from a world of sales, of 50 years of trying to do sales through education and through information, but it's still selling. And making that really, really big sale, there's a certain feeling that you get of accomplishment that you say, okay, I not only can I do it, but I did it. And where do we go from here? How do you keep it? It certainly builds. Marjorie she's not planning on sharing this in this show, but she had that level of excitement in high school at the end of her high school career about being able to pull together a very important rally in her school, which was all about helping that school grow and become more peaceful. And we were going through a very turbulent time. And she was able to single-handedly put together this project that ended with such a high level of joy and excitement and success that really brought her to another level of confidence in her college years and beyond. Am I speaking out of turn, Marjorie, about that?
No.
Or you're not sharing? I don't hear it. Am I just not hearing, or are you not talking?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that there's some similar, relationship there to the level of experience. Catherine is having it somewhat earlier, but this is a great point to jump off from. It's not certainly an end to anything, and it's not certainly a culmination of anything. It's the beginning of big things potentially to happen, and now it's a question of how far she wants to take it. She has the talent, she has the skill, she has the backing, she has the crowd, she has what we call the TP, total package. That's grandpa talking, I guess, to some degree, but now it's just a question of, how far does Catherine want to take that to what level, and where does it play in terms of her importance in life? Because that is another factor here. How much of it is the game and how much of it is the challenge, and then how does it relate to her overall in terms of her feeling successful in life?
All right.
And those are questions yet to be answered.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a wonderful way of putting it. And before we get into the COVID-19 thing, I want to, well, first of all, I wasn't jesting about she really should have come in first. So, Catherine, if you do want to send me that man's name and address, we'll make sure he's not in the next Pro-Am. See if you can drive a golf ball with a right hand like this. So I wasn't jesting, so that's number one. All right, Catherine, it's 5 years from now. No, 6 years from now. You're 20. You're probably in the middle of college. What else? Are you top ranked in the, what do you want for yourself?
Oh, well, I have many goals. I have many goals for the future. I would love to be in a D1 college. I would love to get ready to get my LPGA card. Talking to maybe some sponsors. I'm so excited for the future.
Is that at 18 or 20? Marjorie, you come in here to this conversation as mom. Are you able to get it at 18 or 20 or 21? Or at 18 she can go pro, can't she?
I can.
She can go pro. It's a matter of right now she's not. How do I explain this? She can go pro. It doesn't have to be a certain age,
Right.
but she wants to play for school.
Okay.
So you can't do both.
No, she can't be amateur standing and have the card. So you're looking more, Catherine, around that 20-year mark than 18 to get your LPG card?
I would like to graduate college first and then get my LPGA card.
Wow.
I just want the full academics.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's a great plan. Mom, you're okay with this plan?
I support her, and she's got the brains.
She does. Well, you know, there's of the 75 to 80,000 people that are going to see this show, approximately 70, maybe 72,000 of them were actually introduced to me by your father. So they know, so they do know the Gelbwaks family. And for those of you that know the Gelbwaks family, you know this is a family of overachievers. We're not going to go into mom's achievements right now, but this is a family of overachievers, Catherine. You know that. You were brought up in it. And for you to actually do something that even has that family going, what? Is just staggering for your young life. I mean, this is, you do have, I know there are a lot of people watching that go, this is true. I mean, it's, it's the Gelbwaks and this is what you expect, but no one expected what you did 2 months ago. I mean, when Marjorie would come home, from college with another Nobel Prize, Grandpa would just go, big deal, another one, yeah. What did you do different, Marjorie? You've just, it's unbelievable. But now we are going to get serious, okay? Because there isn't many families, and I come across a lot of people that are as close as all of you. And I don't know, I'm sure it didn't start as birth, but pretty soon when you were growing up, Catherine, you and your sisters started spending an inordinate amount of time with Grandpa and Grandma because you're that close. The relationship, Peter, between you and Marjorie is something staggering. I can't believe it was 10 years ago, Marjorie. I just can't believe. But 10 years ago, Peter was given a staggering honor of Man of the Year by the Florida Assisted Living Coalition. I just can't believe it was 2011. And people were roasting him to a point. But then his children got up and each made speeches. And when Julie was done, there was tears in everybody's eyes. Catherine, I guess you were 3, so you weren't there. Ha ha. But of course, Marjorie, when you got done with your speech, they were just CEOs of huge companies bawling their eyes out as you explained. I remember I was back against the wall and Mark Goldberg was to my left. And, and I'm just sitting here like this and, I can't show everybody how I'm crying. This is crazy. And I look over to the left and Mark Goldberg's. So I figured I'm okay now. I can let it out. The bond, Marjorie, between you and your dad is just staggering. And you guys have just went 13 months without hugging, kissing, birthday parties other than drive-bys. Catherine, you and your sisters haven't had a sleepover in 13 months, which is probably the longest you may have gone in your entire life. COVID-19 has had an effect a lot more than closing businesses and economic and political ramifications. The personal ramifications have just been staggering. So I'm gonna keep this with Marjorie for a while. 13 months without seeing other than something like this or across 100 feet of a backyard without being close to Dad. It's been rough, hasn't it?
It's been more than rough. And it's really hard to convey that feeling that I think so many people are feeling and so many people are having. And, the world looks very different, very, very different right now. And it continues to be ever changing. And no question that it has disrupted our routine, which has absolutely affected all of our mental and emotional well-being, and that physical distancing when you are so used to, as a daughter and also as a business relationship that I have with my parents and my family, and the closeness, and then the children. It's been really heart-wrenching, and not being able to physically hold or physically hug each other, and of course the sleepovers and everything, but so many countless activities that we would do on a regular basis. And when that's taken away from you, you so realize that lack of physical encounter with each other, that lack of just that hug, is very unnatural. And it goes against everything that's really a part of us, because we are such a close, tight-knit, loving, compassionate family. So it's just been so incredibly difficult to work our way and move through this for me and the children, on our perspective, and then of course on how they are feeling in their place and in their house and in their space in going through this. But we learn to just actively listen to each other and how they're feeling, and really respect what they say and what we say. And everybody as a world is moving through things in very different ways, and our feelings about things, ours mirror each other. So we've been very conservative through all of this, but that distancing has been rough. We've played virtual games, and like you said, the drive-bys for birthdays, which I was crying my eyes out for, and sometimes dropping food or dinners at their front door, prescriptions or different things like that, and then in their backyard. But right. It wasn't even 6 feet,
right,
or 10 feet. It's more like 20 most of the time. Mm-hmm. So it's just, you just want to really hold each other. And
I have nothing but respect for all families, but there's a lot of families out there. In fact, in my opinion, the majority of the country, especially here in Florida, a lot of grandparents see their grandchildren 2 or 3 times a year, and their children maybe even less, and families separate. And I have nothing but respect for that. You can have a lot of love over distance, and that is the way most of the country actually does live. And of course, my family, your family, and many other families, we can't survive like that. It's very rough for us. I don't know what I would do. I mean, I stayed in, as your father knows, I stayed in for about 5.5 months mm-hmm. without seeing the grandkids. And of course, I'm a little bit younger than your dad, but not that much younger. In fact, in some ways, I think he's in better shape. But at the end of 5 months, I just said, that's it. If I get it, I get it. I can't not hug my grandchildren. And it's a very different thing. So, Catherine, before I get to Grandpa, even though your mom put it eloquently as she usually does, I'm going to put you on the spot, unfortunately. Sorry. But this is what comes with world fame. So get used to it. It's been rough, hasn't it? Or you tell me, how has it been? No sleepovers, no hugs from Grandpa, no looking back from the tee and seeing him standing there. How's your speak for you and your sisters, if you would, about what this last 13 months was like?
I mean, I'm gonna try not to get emotional. I know my sisters would get emotional too because honestly, it really has been emotional not seeing my grandpa and my grandma. I mean, I was so used to spending so much time with my grandpa and my grandma together. My grandpa would take me out to lunch dates and we would go to the game room and we'd have so much fun together. And we'd go to the golf course all the time and play together. It was just heartbreaking once COVID hit, just not getting that anymore. So I really hope soon that will start to pick up again.
Well, we're going to make an announcement, on behalf of your family before the end of the show that you just told me about before the show, that you're going to put an end to that very soon. But Peter, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to. How has it been for Grandma and Grandpa this year?
Okay, I'm taking a deep breath. Well, first of all, let me just be very clear to say that I think I can speak on behalf of our entire family, of Julie's family and Marjorie's family, our combined families, and say that we all feel very blessed to be in the position that we're in today, and that we've been able to get through this. There's certainly thousands upon thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of families across America and even more so across the world that have similar stories to tell at different levels, and whether they've been physically together or not prior to COVID, that still had strong emotional ties to their kids and their grandchildren. We are blessed because, number one, we've always had that bond, and that bond would in no way, shape, or form be able to be impacted other than the feeling of the separation, but that wouldn't have impacted our sense of our connection to each other. Grateful for us to all be here and be healthy. Having had the experience of, like you said, missing her cousin Leia's high school graduation, or Lauren's college graduation, and the long list that I'm sure a lot of families can relate to and compare their own list. With that being said, there have been great moments of joy and connection, long distance, and feelings of hope and prayer that are being answered. It's not easy to express these kind of things, even though I'm, as you know, used to talking a lot. I can't really get through tonight without having some difficulty here. So let it just be said that we are very happy to be reaching a point of more dependence on science and less on politics, and more dependence on the wonderful world of medical care and the frontline folks that risk their lives to take care of the rest of us. And our connection, as you know, Michael, to the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel, and what they've accomplished along with the whole country of Israel, and the scientific brains that have brought us to this point, not only in Israel, but across the world, and in particular here in the United States, to now be seeing, watching, and hearing about the close to 3 million people now a day being able to get vaccinated. And we were extremely fortunate. Excuse me for 1 second. We were extremely fortunate to be part of that early group in January of being able to access Pfizer. You and I had a call a number of months back about my decision, our joint decision, Sharon and I, about how we were going to deal with COVID from a personal standpoint, and why we were choosing to get vaccinated. And we're at this point now where we're actually, tomorrow is 7 weeks post our second shot, and a lot less paranoia, a lot stronger feelings, positive feelings about moving forward as a family, as a country, as a world, with great hopes that we can handle whatever we're going to be handed through this combination of variants that are approaching. I think a year certainly felt like 10 years, but certainly in this last year, so much has been accomplished and so much lost. And yet here we are with great hopes for the near and far in terms of where we're heading with our lives, and being able to even appreciate more when something is taken away from you. And some of that was self-imposed based on choices we were making, and some of it was not. Sharon and I came to a conclusion that we were willing to risk, and it's all about your risk tolerance or your lack of willingness to take risk. We decided that hopefully we will have 5, 10, 15, 20 years more. And we were willing to risk the loss of, if you want to call it that, a year or so of our lives in order to protect ourselves and our family and friends going on a go-forward basis, based on age, based on health, based on a number of different factors. It wasn't just a decision made easily. And we're happy that we did that now.
Yeah.
We think we made the right decision. We think we made the right move. And here we are a little over a year later. There are things that we missed that we'll never be able to get back. But that's all part of life, and that you accept what you can't control or change, and you grow from it, and you move on. And you just, as I said to begin with, we feel very blessed. We live in a wonderful home. Sharon and I have been together over 50 years. I think April 1st, believe it or not, April Fool's Day is the celebration of our 54 years together. Our first date was on April Fool's Day. We are very much looking forward. Yesterday was some record setting for us. I actually walked into Publix for the first time in 13 months into a supermarket or any store. It was 5 minutes because I was picking up some flowers to head to my brother and sister-in-law's new condo to be able to share without masks on, because all 4 of us have been fully vaccinated now for, as I said, 7 weeks. And we sat down and actually had dinner together. And the new normal, we just were so excited. And tomorrow, I don't know if I'm preempting what you wanted to do or not.
I want to say this. Yes, go.
Sorry?
No, I want you to tell everybody about this. What's happening tomorrow?
Based on the CDC guidelines, the current guidelines of the last week, and Dr. Fauci, who we follow very closely, we are going to be at Marjorie and Catherine's house, inside their house, having dinner that we're going to share together. Even though they haven't had the opportunity yet to be vaccinated, Marjorie doesn't yet qualify, and the kids certainly don't, but we have been given the green light, and with an amazing feeling of excitement for us to be able to do that. And I'm sure that's happening certainly across our country. Yeah. There are stories being told on the news about families that are now gathering with some level of confidence that we are not going to be spreading the COVID to them, and that we wouldn't be likely catching it from them. Now, it happens to be Marjorie and her family are particularly careful when it comes to their immune systems and protecting of their immune systems and doing things that come more naturally than just getting a vaccination in your arm. Mm-hmm. But we're really pretty excited about it. And then this following week, we will be gathering together in a vacation home that we have yet seen in another state to celebrate Passover together, which will be a week from Saturday with Julie and her family, who have all had the opportunity to be vaccinated.
I'm sorry. Who is coming tomorrow night, Marjorie, to your house? Just mom and dad?
Yes.
So it's the
Yeah,
first
we're
time
keeping
in-
it small.
So it's
Keeping
the
it
fir-
small and keeping it private.
Okay. So it's the first time in 13 months.
Yes.
Okay.
It's almost this feeling like I'm having, because it's almost like I'll believe it when I see it. Is that like
Right.
I'm holding my breath.
Catherine, I saw you go like this.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited. I haven't seen them in forever.
All right. Well, I've been lucky as they take, every time one of you start to talk, they take the camera off me. So I got my handkerchief, but nobody sees it. So
So,
tomorrow,
so
go ahead.
I did want to mention one thing, and I'm sure a lot of families are feeling this. There's a level of maturity, I guess you would say, that it takes to have an understanding of what was taking place. And Catherine, fortunately, was, even though it was emotional, she was able to grasp a hold of that, as most of us as adults were, and understand that the risks were just too high, and that you just had to accept the idea of the separation. Whereas Catherine's sisters, Victoria and Kensington, Marjorie can share even better because I wasn't physically there. So I'm speaking more third party. We're struggling a lot more with the concept of, well, wait a minute, seeing grandpa and grandma with masks on 25 and sometimes 50 feet away in a driveway, or doing a Zoom call or a FaceTime call was actually for us worse than not seeing them at all. And just being together. And Marjorie, you may want to just share a moment or two about that, because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Because when you're 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, that's a pretty hard concept to grab a hold of.
Can you do that, Marjorie? If you don't want to, it's okay.
It's fine. When we started, my youngest Kensington had her 9th birthday, so she's 8, 9, and Victoria, my middle daughter, was 10, 11. And yeah, it's became really this Zoom fatigue on the computers of Zooming family members or friends all the time, as well as their virtual schooling. And then when we would get together and we have our masks on, and they and my parents, their grandparents have their masks on, or if we did get together for, say, my sister's 50th birthday and they had masks on, and we're really, really far apart from each other and really having to elevate our voices to hear each other speak or do anything like that. And for my youngest, it was much harder to, after so long in this and enduring this behavior for so long, where, we were at our last gathering and my father, was trying to say something to my youngest Kensington, and he's like, I can't hear you. And Kensington just said, I don't even want to be here. And my dad, her grandfather, is saying, why? And she goes, because I can't sit on your lap, because I can't walk over to you, because I can't hug you, because I can't play basketball with you right now, and I would just rather not be here at all. And I'm crying because she's crying. I look over at my dad and he's crying, and you realize that everybody is just moving through this in different ways. And it's just for so long that you have to, or we chose to really lean in hard and surrender hard into this, and realize this just is what we have to do to protect the ones that we love. And, my parents, their grandparents, or it was just, we weren't willing to risk it, and the what if then something happened, and then having to deal with those feelings of the what if. But seemingly difficult in a whole other way for the little ones, of just, I would rather not, it's so close yet so far away from each other, and they just want that physical hug and that touch and that interaction that they had every week, and just gone in a blink.
So, Mike, let me just interject something of a practical nature. You know, I'm 74 years old, and I've had a mild hearing loss, that not needing a hearing aid most of the time. And that's just not me talking. I mean, I've certainly considered it and looked into it, but so I don't hear as well as I would like to, but I hear pretty much everything. Here's the practical problem. You put a mask on someone, and unless they're really projecting well, like a child, it makes it that much more difficult. So that was the problem we were running into. We're sitting outside, and we're 25 feet away, and I'm trying to have a conversation with her, and then on top of it, she's speaking through a mask. So, it's not something that you would think of normally, but I mean, that became a practical problem. On a somewhat lighter note, Sharon and I joke about it because I tell people it's not the best situation to have one spouse that's not seeing well. Sharon's always had problems since early on adulthood, or even before she became an adult, with different eye conditions that she's been trying to control to her best ability. And now I said, you really don't want to be a couple where one doesn't hear well and one doesn't see well. So we joke around about it a lot, particularly if you're in a house like this where you have high ceilings. Yeah. It's not that easy, to function, because Sharon doesn't see that I'm not in the room, and she's talking to me and I'm yelling out to her. So we're back and forth dealing with it. But that issue that Marjorie just brought up was a really practical problem that we were experiencing of, having masks on, and then it just made it even more difficult and more frustrating for everybody. Again, with that being said, I don't want this show to end to make anyone feel that we are entitled more than anyone else, that we feel that we suffered more than anyone else, that we feel any more down or negative or sad, because we have so many blessings and so many things that other people, when you're watching people online for water or on food or on line because they don't have sufficient finances to be able to handle, or having to be forgiven on a number of bases, whether it be their mortgage or their rent or electric, or dealing with their landlord, or losing their jobs. Thank goodness that we were able to do the kind of planning that we've been able to do over our life. I know this is not a business show today.
No, it's okay.
But I have to interject that proper planning on these levels is so critical to be able to look at, whether it be long-term care or Medicare, or whether it be financial, to be able to be prepared for the unexpected and to be prepared for the unprepared, and to do stuff so that when something like this happens and we all get into a crisis, that we can rise to the top and be able to answer it and move forward at this point, and not have to fall back too far, and be able to grasp a hold of that ring and take it and say, okay, we're here, and we're going to grow from here and build from here and not fall apart.
That's right.
And I think the country is at that point where they're ready for that. We happen to be, as a family, very ready for it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It happens a lot during catastrophes. I remember for at least a month after 9/11, nobody was Republican. Nobody was a Democrat. Everybody was American. And it's a kind of a weird analogy, I know, but I think COVID-19 has had a similar effect, because COVID-19 just didn't care about the color of your skin, how much your financial statement was, your religion. It just attacked, and it affected, grandmas and grandpas and mothers and fathers and daughters and granddaughters and grandsons. It just attacked. So dinner is tomorrow night. Is that correct?
It is.
Are you cooking, or is there going to be Chinese food? Tell the truth, Marjorie.
Well, it's actually going to be
It's going to be
takeouts
Chinese.
from our
What?
favorite Japanese restaurant. Let me do a little plug for Toshi at
Okay.
Kume's.
I knew it was Asian. Yeah, we're Jewish, so it
And
had to be.
Kume is our hero, who stayed open for takeout only for the last full year, and we're very proud of him hanging in there. So we're going to go celebrate a little bit with him, at least on a takeout basis. So
I knew there had to be something Asian in there. Catherine, did you know? I don't know how much of your Jewish training is formal, but when the Jews were wandering the desert for generations, they weren't actually looking for the homeland. They were looking for a Chinese restaurant. It was. It's been documented, and that's what they were looking for. I know there's, for everybody that, and there is a lot of people, we kid about it, but there is a lot of people that know you, know your family. You are an incredibly giving family and loving family. And I am absolutely sure that, damn it, that there's going to be a lot of love and tears and hugs tomorrow at dinner.
good ones, though.
Absolutely good ones. Take a video and send it to me, and we'll play it at the beginning of next week's show. And little less than a minute left. Thank you guys for being here. Everybody say
Share the love. Continue sharing the love, Mike.
absolutely. Always great sharing the love with you guys. Catherine, it's nothing but an incredible future for you. Anybody that knows you knows that's true. Just nothing but the best in the whole world to you. Wonder Woman, nothing but love to you. That's why you don't have to worry about getting COVID, because you're impervious to things like that. Nothing but love. All of you, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing
Thank you for having
this
us.
today.
Take
See
care.
everybody next week.